Hey, how's it going today, y'all? This is Jirby Barbecue. Alrighty, y'all, this is Jirby Barbecue at Goldie's Barbecue. I'm in the kitchen right now. Today, we are going to be going over how to season a brisket. Let's do it. Alrighty, let's talk about the ingredients a little bit first before we get into actually seasoning the brisket. What I have here is pepper, 16 mesh, kosher salt, and lawrys. This is Jirby style right here. All three separated. Done, separated. In this order. Pepper, salt, lawrys. Pepper, salt, lawrys. Always remember that. In that order. That's very important because you do the lawrys first, nothing else is going to stick. You do the salt first, your pepper's not going to stick. So it's very important to do pepper, salt, lawrys. And this is a rub that I created. It is 2 parts pepper, 1 part salt, 1 part lawrys. This is the rub that we sell at the restaurant. You can buy it in a pint. It's really good for doing 2 or 3 briskets. You just put it in a rub bottle like this and go on your way. But if I'm doing 20 briskets, I want to do it separated because I want them to all look exactly the same because I'm very detailed oriented and I want everything to be exactly the same. I want every brisket to taste amazing. With this, it's hard because the ratio, once you start seasoning a few briskets, the ratio gets more and more undone. It's once you get lower in the bottle, it starts being lawrys heavy, and then once those lawrys start hitting first, and pepper's not sticking, and it's really just a mess. And it takes way longer to season a lot of briskets this way because they're constantly having to redo the rub because once it starts getting down to the bottom, it's not the same ratio. So that's why I do it separated, and I'm going to show you all both because I do really like this rub for 2 or 3 briskets. I put them on the backyard smoker. This is the way to go. But you're doing 20 briskets, you own a restaurant, I recommend this right here. Or even at the house if you're just doing one. Also, you can do this. Either way. Alright, let's get to it. Alrighty. Let's do it. One more thing before we get started. I want to talk about the holes. The holes on this. The bigger they are, the less control you have. The smaller they are, the more control you have. These right here are perfect. This is kind of like a medium. And this lets me control it, and it's still pretty efficient. So, just wanted to go over that. Bottom side. Let's do it. Sprinkling it on, sprinkling it on, sprinkling it on. Nice and slow. Pretty high above it, making sure I have complete control over the rub falling out. And I'm just going to pat that right in. So for this, the top side, I'm using mustard and a little bit of pickle juice as my slather. Kind of want to get it all over the place. All over the place. And make sure it's nice and even. You don't want to see any gloops of mustard. That will mess up your rub and make it gloopy. You want to make it nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Make sure your brisket's nice and flat. Make sure everything's, nice and... Make sure everything's nice and flat. Alright, and that's it. So with this mixed rub, basically I'm just going to give it one more good shake before I put it on because I want to make sure the ratio is right, and this is kind of the best way to do it. It's the best way to get the lawrys to come up to the top instead of dropping to the bottom. Just shaking it up. Now I want to stay pretty high off the brisket. I don't think you can see how high I am, but I'll do it in the next video. But I want the shaker bottle to be pretty high, and I want the shaker bottle to be about eye level, where I'm looking right at the holes of the shaker bottle. And then I'm going to sprinkle it on. Alright, so that's a good thing of pepper. That's a good base layer of pepper and everything else. Shaking it up a little bit more, going for the next wave. And this one I'm going to kind of dump out the rub. This is where you really dump out the salt and the lawrys. And then I'm going to do the sides. I just bounce it off my hand, going around the sides. I don't like to pick up and move the brisket very much. Same thing down here. And then one more across the top. Then I'm going to shake it off, all that excess rub. I'm going to pat it in. And then if you see any bald spots on here, all I do is I put my hand the rub on the side and just kind of pat it in like so. And that's it. All right, so this is it right here with the rub, with the mixed rub, the two pepper, 1 salt, 1 Lawry's. You can see there's a lot of pepper, which is perfect. You can see there's a lot of kosher salt, which is great. You know, it's seasoned, and then it has that light tint of orange, and you know that's that last little bit that you need. That's that last little hint of flavor that you want, and it's perfect. And so this looks really good. This is going to attract a lot of smoke because all the pepper. It's going to form a very, very good bark, and this is just from using this rub. So this is what they look like with the rub mix, and I'm going to do another one with the separated rub, which is probably going to look a little different because, like I said, I have more control. You can see it's not as, I mean, it's good. I know it's good rub-wise, but it's not as pretty as I'd want it. But so we'll do the other one next. Make sure you clear all the excess rub out of the way before you put the next brisket down, because I'm going to be putting it fat side down right here, and I don't want all that rub on top of it. I want to start the next brisket with a clean slate. With the back side of this, I just hit it with a little bit of pepper. No slather, nothing. I'm not really too worried about the back side or the bottom side of the brisket, but you always do the bottom side first. That's super important because the top side is where all the flavor is going to be, all the smoke. That's where you're going to bite into the brisket. You want that to be super flavored. So just a little bit of salt and pepper. That's all that is. Let's do the top side. Same thing. Mustard and pickle juice mixed. Getting it in the mohawk. Getting it on this side. Flatten it out so there's a nice, good service. You know, to pick off any extra fat or meat or anything that's on the way, because that'll I mean, it'll just burn off while you're cooking. There would be a bald spot. So that's it. Now let's start. Like I said, pepper first. Always, always, always. Generous with the pepper because the pepper is what's going to attract the smoke, what's going to get you a bark. Too much pepper, and if there's too much pepper on there, if I like really just cover it, when it shrinks, it'll start clumping and it'll break off and it'll get too dry and it'll all crumbly. You want like a nice even spread of pepper, like so. Then I'm going to hit it with the kosher salt. Getting a nice layer of that. See, I've done enough to where I know what's too salty, what's too much salt. But you just want you really just want like a nice even layer of salt on there, like kind of like the pepper, like same amount of kosher salt as the pepper. So that's what I was looking at right there. You'll notice that I season the sides with the salt. The sides get salt and pepper, and that's it. So last but not least, Lawry's best secret ingredient in barbecue. I was the first one to put it on anything. Okay. Let's keep going. Lawry's last. Now this is very important. These dump out very quick when they're by themselves. These are big holes. They dump out very quick. I am used to how fast it comes out, so I know kind of how fast I need to move. But like I was talking about with the holes, if you want to use smaller holes for the Lawry's, definitely should. Or same holes, you just got to go at a different pace per ingredient, basically. So Lawry's, get this on top, stand up high. Get a nice even coat, anywhere I miss right there. Now I'm going to pat that in. This one looks a little bit more orange. Probably because the salt and the pepper fell first on this one. Salt and pepper fell first. There's probably more kosher salt on this one. Because like I said, I don't have complete control over a rub that is mixed. I have complete control over this. This is exactly how I want the brisket to look. I got the nice coat of pepper. I got a nice coat of salt. and I got the lawrys. Exactly, like it's a little bit more orange, but I know this one is still seasoned because I mean this is 1:1 ratio on salt and pepper. So I'm looking at this much pepper, and I know there's a good amount of salt on there. This one, I got exactly how much pepper I want, and I know exactly how much salt and lawrys are on it as well. So I know this one's seasoned. So either way, you can do it. But this is just the way I prefer because I think this looks prettier and I like it. And when I do 20 briskets, they all look exactly the same, and I think it's nice. So that's that. Alrighty, just a couple more things I want to go over before I end the video. If you're using another small spice like garlic powder, onion powder, anything like that, kind of like the lawrys, you definitely want to put it on last. You don't want to mix it up in this rub. It won't mix correctly. I mean, the lawrys are really, even the lawrys don't mix correctly. But you do it because it's efficient. But if you really want to taste it, put it in a separate rub bottle and, put it on last. Because that's really the only way it's going to work. You don't want to waste your time putting that kind of stuff and wasting your money when you can't taste it on every slice and it doesn't really shine through at all. So that's another thing that I recommend. Also, I know tallow is like, the thing right now. A lot of people are using tallow. I've seen the videos. I know about it. I've used it a lot. So with tallow will bland out your brisket. It'll make it bland. It'll coat your tongue first when you're trying the brisket, and it'll seem like there's not enough salt on the brisket. So with tallow, if you're using a lot of tallow, season the brisket heavier, and then it should even out, hopefully. I've done it for a long time. I don't wrap with tallow. I just pour tallow on in the morning when I'm going through the briskets, because I got 20 briskets I want to go through. I want to see how they're feeling. I want to have a good idea of what my day's going to be like, and when I'm going through the briskets, I just pour a little bit of tallow on top, and when I unwrap it, the brisket just looks shiny. I really think that's really the only effect that I'm getting from that tallow. And we'll go more into that when I do the how to cut a brisket video. I'll go more into what I do with that tallow and why it's there and stuff like that. So, but for the most part, I really just think it's shiny. But I just put a little bit on. I don't want to bland out the brisket. I don't want to just drench it in tallow, basically. So there's another couple tips that I just wanted to go over before this video ends. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it.